You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
That music never gets old. Boy, do we have a great show planned for you. You are listening to Orange County's longest running business talk show, and I am your host, Rick Franzi. Why did I say we're going to have a great show planned for you? Because I know we have a great guest. Ray Blackman is our guest. Ray, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Ray is the co-founder, and co-CEO of her own firm, Product Pair. And so we're going to be talking about her as an entrepreneur, a bit about the company, her background. It's going to be a tour de force. But let's start very simply with your origin story, at least for Product Pair. What was or is the motivation or inspiration for you and your co-founder to launch this company?
So between myself and my co-founder, Greg, who's also my husband, we had actually started, I want to say 5 software companies. So we had a lot of experience in terms of like building stuff from scratch, like designing them and developing them and launching them to market. And in addition, we'd worked at tech companies before too. I actually worked as an engineer at tech companies. We'd worked in sales roles, and so we had accumulated a lot of expertise over, our aggregate decades of experience, and so it was a very natural extension for us to start offering everything we'd learned from all of our mistakes and successes with clients. So it wasn't exactly, I wouldn't say we like planned to do Product Pair. It was more like people would ask us for our expertise, and we provided it and saw that we could provide a lot of value, and the business grew from there.
So take me back to, was it over dinner one night? Who suggested that Product Pair be your next entrepreneur? Was it you? Was it him? How did that happen?
I don't actually, with most things, we rarely have like where he ends and I begin. So
Nice.
it was, it was very much a joint thought or a joint effort. It grew out of actually a client that he initially took, which was a very large conglomerate with many brands. And as most, spouse entrepreneurship stories work, like the business got to a point where both of us could start doing it full time. And so he was first to, I guess, kickstart it, and I was able to join on once it got to a certain size.
Okay, so let's talk about what it is. But before you kind of tell me about the company, I'm wondering, it's been a little over a year, right? Year plus that you two have launched Product Pair. Any pivots, changes in the business model since you launched? And then we'll talk about what the business model is and what you're doing today for your clients.
Sure. Absolutely. So we actually went through this brand identity, who are we exercise that was very painful and lasted, I think, like 3 or 4 months. And, brand identity and who are you can be the most simple exercise that you do in like an hour, I guess, if you know exactly what your strengths are and what you're offering. But I think we launched like 6 or 7 different versions of our website in that period of time, just tweaking the message. And actually the biggest takeaway I had from that exercise is that we both come from technical backgrounds. We tend to be very linear, logical thinkers. So the hardest thing for us to do was to tap into like our heart and like, what is it that we actually really wanted to do? What is it that got us excited? And less thinking about the market and like what's on trend right now, and what are you likely to get funding for, which is how we tend to think. So effectively, we went from the very different iterations of our company and landed at where we are right now, which is what we really wanted to do all along, which is a product innovation studio, as we call it. Effectively, it's launching products. It's for startups and small companies, it's launching their first product, but it also can extend to companies, very large companies and brands. We've worked with brands as large as the Superbowl and the UFC and Udemy, the e-learning platform. And in those type of engagements, you're not launching their first ever product, but you are a lot of times, sometimes creating a new department, a new revenue line, or optimizing one of their processes. So everything greenfield for us is our expertise and what we really get excited about. So we basically doubled down on the thing that got us out of bed in the first place and starting tech companies. It's been working great so far.
So, in my experience as a fellow entrepreneur, I believe the hardest thing to do is to launch a new company.
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't know it needs product pair. They're very
Mm-hmm.
happy without you, and you have to force your way in, you and your partner. Maybe the second hardest thing is, and I'm out on a limb here, but is to take an existing company that's successful and either help them to launch a new product, new service, new division, or to retool the existing product to figure out how to make it even more successful. So it sounds like you and your partner are taking on some of the biggest challenges entrepreneurs and companies face, right?
Yeah, I mean, we love that. I can understand how some people might find it kind of a upper hill battle, but transformation, modernization, like bringing something new into the world is something that we derive a lot of fulfillment from. I think the act of creation is very fulfilling. So you can't create something if it already exists. And there's definitely different personality types that prefer to like optimize and operate an existing, like jump on the existing train effectively. But for us, I don't know, we like bringing things to life.
And the name derives from what? What does it mean, product pair?
So product pair has multiple meanings. The pair is myself and Greg, my co-founder. So it's a little cheesy. But the product portion of it is effectively from product management, which is what our central role is in our company, is we manage the development of products and software products in general, like that's how the name came about. It's very literal. And so the way that we operate the company is we are the two of us basically the linchpins of the company and every project, and we have an extended team of engineers, designers, testers, marketers, like every function that's required to make a product launch and succeed. But we're like the effective like cornerstone of every project, and everything kind of offshoots from us.
So it sounds like the term product can also be applied to a service. You're not solely helping companies launch physical products. Is that correct, right?
No, actually every product that we have launched has been a software product.
So it's software. Okay.
Yes. We have not done anything outside of software just because we come from technical backgrounds and that's what we know. It's a very specific skill set and platforms and technologies that you have to use. So we have not, although I would like, I think it'd be fun to, I don't know, launch like a new Coke or something or like a new shirt. But no, everything we've done has been digital products. The service we provide is the creation and launch of digital products.
Okay, got it straight now. And so your technical training and your background really is appropriate to help these companies to understand, although technology continues to advance at a breakneck pace. And that's probably good news because it gives you more options of tools to use, but it's probably a challenge because there's so many, it's the paradox of choice. Maybe there's so many different platforms or vehicles. Am I at all close to being truthful?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword in technology because once you learn something or you feel like you got it, don't get too comfortable because the next thing is around the corner.
Yeah.
And you have to erase your mind of everything you just learned and go to the next thing. So being comfortable with change is very essential for entrepreneurship in general, but especially I think in tech. You
Yeah.
can't get attached to anything, because the whole game is innovation and it's like constantly evolving with the market. But at the same time, it's great for us as far as a business perspective because nothing is stagnant. I talked about making a new soda or a shirt before, and there's not probably that much movement in those industries. Once you built one, you got your shirt. But and in technology, we have a lot of follow-on projects and clients because let's say we built something that was a data platform and now AI is the hot thing, and it's a very natural extension to layer on AI or machine learning to a data platform.
And that's something I want to ask you about in a minute if I could. But before I go into the impact that artificial intelligence is having, and you touched on it, I know that you're a serial entrepreneur. You spoke about that in the open, how between you and Greg, how many different ventures you have launched over your career. And I'm wondering, for those of us that are not serial entrepreneurs, we're kind of, one time, are there lessons that you guys have learned from the previous experience that are informing you today and maybe making decisions easier or at least better thought through because you have that experience of being an entrepreneur before?
Absolutely. So I think it's really interesting with entrepreneurship. People, in my first company that I started, I remember I set myself a clock. I said, you have a year to make this work. And if you haven't made it work by a year, then you have to go get a job again because you're basically like bleeding cash during that time.
That's
And
that
I think,
linear thinking in you, it sounds
yeah,
like.
exactly. So a lot of people I think of entrepreneurship that way, where they say like, oh, it didn't work, it's over kind of thing.
Mhm.
But to me, entrepreneurship is kind of not too dissimilar from any career track where in the first year that you do it, you really don't know what you're doing and you're not good. And in the second year, you're slightly less bad,
Right.
and by the time that you have 10 years of experience, you are actually a seasoned professional in the thing that you're doing. And entrepreneurship is no different from being an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. Um, I think that is the biggest takeaway that I've had is that I made a lot of mistakes. We both collectively made a lot of mistakes, especially the earlier. It's funny, you look at it and like everything, the earlier it was in our journey, the worse it was.
Mm.
Like in terms of like outcome, in terms of quality, and we've just like cumulatively built all these skills over time. And most importantly is I think we've become comfortable with the ups and downs of entrepreneurship
Mm.
as a way of life, which is a really hard pill to swallow in the beginning. So, but once you've seen a few cycles, once you've been up and then you've been down and then you've been up again, it's a lot. You feel a lot safer in just understanding that this is like just how it goes. So certainly the fact that we have had all those experiences what enables us to provide a good service to our clients now and make sure we have better outcomes because we've seen the not positive and the positive outcome and we're able to basically like direct efforts a certain way. I think the other big lesson for me is that a lot of times I think with entrepreneurship things are presented as like luck oriented, like, oh, let's see if this takes, like but the longer you do it, it really is actually a systematic effort. There are very particular tools and platforms and skills that you need to very much elevate the success rate of a project. So like thinking of it like a gamble is not really accurate. I think like if you don't know the paths to make yourself succeed, it's just a matter of time until you learn them if you stick around long enough.
I told you at the beginning of the show that we were going to have a great show because Ray was going to be a great guest. And I think all the answers have proved me to be true. That one is an anchoring moment. And for me, getting comfortable with the fact that entrepreneurship has peaks and valleys, regardless of how successful you are, is a big change from the corporate world where maybe you're somewhat insulated. At least you
Yep,
feel like you might be from those peaks and valleys. But thank you for, I
of
meet a
course.
lot of folks who think they should be entrepreneurs. I'm like, wow, there's a lot to, I left the corporate world and I felt like it took me a year or two to unlearn the bad habits of what worked in the corporate world that doesn't
Yep.
work when you're an entrepreneur. You're much closer
Yeah.
to the business, especially in the early days of a business.
Yeah, and what's interesting is for me, I think in the very beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, I had kind of this, like, kind of a lot of entrepreneurs kind of feel angry at like being an employee. Like they're kind of insubordinate or like whatever they are. They don't like having a boss, and they're like, I can do that better. I can make it myself. I don't need you guys. But actually, the longer that I have been an entrepreneur, the more respect I have for any venture, big or small, that actually survives. Like I
Right.
know what it takes now. So like whatever the corporate entity is bringing to the table is actually something that I very much give credit to. Um, just because I know what it took to get there, and it's not an easy path. So yeah, it's definitely a shift in perspective.
Business,
Definitely.
leading a business is never easy.
Yeah.
There's always challenges, but it's never
Hmm.
harder, in my opinion, than those early
Yeah.
days when you're just
Yeah.
trying to create their first client, get some
Yeah.
revenue, then get to a break even point where at least the business pays for itself before
Yeah.
you even can think about taking some money out of the business. So, all things entrepreneurs. That's why we do Critical Mass Business Talk Show. That's why we've been on the air so long, and that's why we have such fascinating shows in our catalog as we're doing today. Is there a piece of business advice, Ray, that
Hmm.
you were given, or maybe that you give, that you think is
Hmm.
really valuable and that you could share with my audience today?
Absolutely. It actually goes very hand in hand with a lot of what we've been talking about, which is that this concept of entrepreneurship being hard it was a big hurdle for me to get over mentally because I always felt like I had like this safety latch on the side where I'm like, okay, if this is getting too hard, like let's just like take the parachute out and go back to a salary. But the quote I love is that it says, everything is hard. You just have to choose your hard, right? So being on a career path where you have to go in every single day, 8 plus hours a day and deal with politics and competition and increase your skills and apply to jobs, that is hard too. In fact, I would say maybe it was too hard for me because it was the kind of hard that I couldn't tolerate, apparently. And entrepreneurship is hard as well for many, many reasons. So much uncertainty, so much self doubt, instability, and like you said, just like getting that first or those first moments is very, very difficult. And I also think there's another inflection point in any business's journey that is another difficult point, which is how to find a repeatable pattern.
Yes.
Like you may have had like 2 years of great success, but you secretly know that like you didn't really figure it out. Like you don't know exactly, like you don't know why it worked or how. And
Yeah,
if you can't figure out how to do a systematic path to growing your business, that is the reason why a lot of companies fail as well.
exactly.
So I think those two moments are the hardest in entrepreneurship. But again, choose your heart. What is it? What kind of
Mhm.
difficulty actually energizes you, and what type of difficult is draining your energy and making you sad? So
Wow.
that's the motto I like.
I love it. I wrote it down, so thank you. I wonder, you started and I sort of cut you off. I apologize for that, but I wanted to take a focused moment because you're in the space, you're in
Mhm.
software, you're in technology, and everything you read now has some flavor of AI around it.
Yeah.
How are you and your partner seeing AI influencing your clients and your business model?
So we are a very data heavy, data intensive software services company, meaning that we've worked with a lot of data platforms and just very data intensive platforms as well. So we were already like at least tangentially in the AI space before it became um, the rage as it is today. But I think nowadays there really is no client or technology company that doesn't want to have AI at least integrated into their platform. So it creates a lot of opportunities for us. The term AI is misused, but a lot, and a lot of times it's a little sprinkle of AI that we're talking about, not actually building the AI model. But I think that AI is personally, I always thought that AI was the most interesting new technology that, between all the different categories we have, like VR and crypto and AI, I always gravitated towards AI. And it's very fascinating because having worked as a software engineer, the most tedious part of coding is that you have to spell out everything to the computer. If you leave out even the smallest detail, the whole application can crash. And the beauty of AI is the computer can actually think for itself and it can generate code. And to be able to create this kind of like self-serving model is really incredible. So yeah, it's created a lot of opportunity for us, and I don't think it's going to replace technology or software engineering jobs, as you know, some of that fear talk says, because I think that software engineers are actually the people that are building these models and
Mm-hmm.
improving them. So if anything, it makes technology even stronger as a sector. So I think we're in a very exciting moment for sure.
I agree with you. I feel I've seen a lot of technology innovation over my career,
Hmm.
internet, social media, whatever websites talk about it. I mean, uh, I feel like artificial intelligence is going to be like electricity in the fact that it's
Yeah.
going to be everywhere and
Hmm.
a foundational aspect to so much that we can't even, we've created intelligence, to your point, things that can
Yeah.
actually create itself, which previously hasn't been the case. So uh, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about your business's future, Ray. You're going to be
Mhm.
back on Critical Mass Business Talk Show at some point in the future, and we're going to tell them about what's new and great. Where are you and Greg seeing Product Pair going in the future? What's your vision?
I think for us, the most obvious thing is to keep growing the scale of the business in terms of getting more clients, more projects, more employees. But outside of growing, just keep on going and scaling the business, we come from we currently have a services business where we build products for other people, right? But our foundations are that we both come from product companies. So we led basically like applications. And so we want to add a software component to our company as well. So that we have kind of like a services arm as well as a software product that we're selling. It would be a shame for us to have all this, experience and know-how and not do that.
Right.
It also makes no sense. So we love it. It's very creative. I liken it to like movie production. You want if you're hired to produce movies for other studios, you're gonna eventually want to make your own documentary. So we want to basically do our own product as well.
Well, that's exciting. And you certainly have to keep me in mind when you're ready to come back and talk about that product. At the very
Sure.
least, that'll have to be the next time I have you back on the show. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. If someone would like to reach out to you or to Greg or learn more about Product Pair, digitally, where do you suggest they go, Ray?
So our website is productpair.co, not .com. And we have, LinkedIn pages and all the social media as well. And for me, I'm on LinkedIn and so is Greg. And you can find us there. We're pretty responsive, we're always on the computer. So if you reach out to us, we'll get right back to you. And we'd love to work with anybody out there.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today. I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together. It's as advertised. You were an excellent guest, informative and fun to speak with. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
And I'd like to thank the audience. You've been a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. Ray's episode is part of our catalog now, with 1,400 other interviews in there, probably people that you know. If you're an Orange County entrepreneur and you have a story to tell, you'd like to tell it on our platform, reach out to Haley Stern or myself. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. That's who I am on LinkedIn. Coincidentally, that's also my website, rickfranzi.com. And until the next time we have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.